Hey everyone, it's been a while since I've done one of these just face to face, I suppose, videos. I think the last one I did was before I left for Korea last year, and I talked about my goals for the future and my time in Korea. So since it's been almost a year since then, I figured this would be a really good time to do another one because I just ended casting WCS Montreal a couple of days ago, and I know that also a recap video could be fun. So this is kind of both a recap video and then goals for 2018. So first of all, the recap of WCS. I got there Wednesday, left Monday. Rehearsals were on Thursday and they were a breeze. I was already kind of warned about what they would want from me, and I did it fine. And they came up and said, like, you did exactly what we wanted. So that was easy peasy. And then the 3 casting days also went just better than expected, I suppose. So it's really cool how they streamline things. They know that casting is going to be what you're most comfortable with until you get more and more of these actual offline jobs. So that's where they put you first to kind of get comfortable. And I immediately fell into that. I used to get about an hour or two of nerves before, during, and a little bit after. And then they disappear once I really got into the groove. But now I don't even get that much, maybe 15 minutes, right before the camera goes on kind of thing. That's the only time I get nerves. And I certainly was apprehensive about the desk in particular. Casting is something I do all the time. That wasn't really nerve-wracking, but the desk was what I kind of actually even prepped a lot more for. So the studying that went up to this event started from the first time that I was told I was going to be casting at Montreal, but then I really pushed hard the 2 weeks beforehand where I was studying and note-taking and practicing. And while certainly I studied StarCraft and I improved toward the areas that I was weak in, which was Zerg and Protoss, I also more so practiced and studied and rehearsed on stage presence, how I talk, how I present myself, even down to the makeup and the hair and shopping to look okay. All those things were actually what I was most worried about, which maybe sounds shallow, but I think is a very important part about actually being on the camera, which is what's going to happen whenever, if I ever get to do this type of event again. And I think I did really well. It helped that they actually had a good makeup artist, so that was nice. But just in general, I think that my practice and preparation paid off, because I think when it came to the desk, that I did perfectly fine. I think I got critiqued that I talked too fast, and I'm not even sure why that is. I wasn't nervous past the first minute that I was on it, but I guess I had a lot to say or something. But that's also something that I was working on, again, more specific things than just casting better, but literally enunciating, being concise with your thoughts. I was reading sports broadcasting books. There's one over my desk, but you can't quite see it because of the mic. Those things are what I was trying to work on, actually, just to be better presented. And I think it worked, most of the way. And then maybe I flubbed here and there. And certainly, it's expected that I'm going to be able to improve for my next event. And that's good, room to improvement. I can't just absolutely nail it out of the park the first time. But besides, I guess, the on-camera stuff, I thought I did well with the casting with people I cast with. So I only got to cast with 2 people, which I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but me and Roddy did a good job at Nation Wars, and then we did a great job here too, especially with the 2 great series we got. The first series of the day, I don't think anyone's really happy with what they do, so that was okay, but then later in the tournament, we got Scarlet versus Hearthstone, and then we also got Snoot versus a Laser, and both of those series were amazing. I think that when it comes to offline versus online performance, offline certainly helps you with your chemistry, the co-caster, but also just hearing the roar of the crowd. Online, I think there's a certain level that you kind of dip and weave out, but it's not really too much. I think offline, you can dip a little, but it doesn't get too far down, but you can really reach huge peaks and get to your best casting possible. And certainly hearing the crowd chant and be behind you was an amazing, even addicting experience. Maynard actually has warned me. Sometimes he was like, well, once you actually get that offline crowd, you're just going to be addicted to it, as he is. And I can certainly see what he means a couple days later, and I'm already missing casting like that. But yeah, I thought I did a great job. on those casts. Me and Maynard, I think we actually have very good chemistry, but we just didn't get very amazing series. So I'm hoping to do more series with him offline at future events. And just in general, behind the scenes, everyone was very nice. They explained, what I should be expecting. They explained their inside jokes. Like, I loved everyone that was there. And any type of like, oh, they're gonna try and bring any of the new guys down. I know Fear Dragon has talked about this. It's just absolutely not true. Like, everyone's trying to just help each other out and have a good cast. So, amazing experience behind the scenes. The one thing that I kind of wish overall had happened more at WCS, and I'll get on the finer points of improvement in the next topic, but overall in WCS, I kind of wish I was out in the crowd a little bit more. I would leave the backstage area to talk to players or just go and hang out in the player area, but that still might have looked restricted. So I don't want to say that like I have thousands of fans that were waiting to talk to me, but I do kind of wish that maybe I had made myself just, a little more out there, because I know some people came up to me and that was awesome. And if anyone missed the opportunity to talk to me or even like the other casters, because I think people see us walk out in a group and they're like, oh, they're tired, they don't want to talk. And to a degree, like that type of thought process is very nice, and you should consider like, are we too tired? Like, are we like definitely not in the mood? But I think from what I've talked to everyone, like they have no problem just stopping for a couple of seconds and saying hi and whatnot. But yeah, being out in the crowd a little bit more would have been, I guess, the one thing I wish I did when it came to the actual experience of WCS Montreal. So the finer points of what I think I can do to improve. So as I said, I prepped a lot with the kind of off StarCraft subject. I did study for StarCraft as well to just give myself confidence, because that is part of the game, right? Just having confidence in what you're saying. But I still think that there's certainly things to improve on. Definitely, the analytical side of some of the things were kind of lost just with just kind of like X, Y, or Z. The games were like a little weird, or you get caught up in the moment and you just kind of like... It's actually like, I think this happens to hype casters the most, the play-by-play casters, but it happens with the analysis casters too. You get kind of caught up in the moment, so you're like screaming for one thing or another, and then the other person has to calmly recognize the supply tells the tale or something like that, That happened once or twice. I think we did a good job mitigating it and not making it a big deal, but certainly you always gotta look for things to critique. And definitely some of the series, I wish I had been a little more on point with telling the story, because the analysis isn't just there for sounding smart. I feel like the analysis, identifying build orders, helps tell the story. Sometimes that leads to a bit lamer of a story, to be honest, when you realize that for instance, there's like a build order win straight up, but then sometimes it really helps move the story along. And I guess that's really what it comes down to, is kind of story building. I think WCS actually has a lot of emphasis put into like the notes they give you. So the Blizzard, they put a lot of emphasis on the storylines. So the WCS points was huge at Montreal. Rivalries are always noted. Country rivalries or hometown heroes are always noted. But still, the story also has its own, or the game also has its own storyline. And pushing that, I think, is what really like makes a very good caster. So kind of wish I'd done that a little bit more. Just continuing studying basically and actually playing the game will help with that. For the on-camera stuff, I still think that there's room to improve. I think I actually did a pretty good job looking at the videos, but there's always that you gotta like have experience, I think, to actually do this. But the more experience that I'll have, the more natural I'll look. Because there's, I kind of like even looked at the other guys that were there and how they held themselves, how often would they allow themselves to not look at the other person and stuff like that, and just look a lot more casual on the desk. Because though it's a professional setting, I think what people love about the desk is still that it is a bit of a community feel. There's like people talking and being very, very, very interested in StarCraft, even if we're trying to do so in a very professional manner. That could have definitely been worked on. And as I said in the last little segment, was that apparently I talked too fast which I don't know if that was like really anyone, it might have just been an offhand comments. Certainly no one was like, criticizing me harshly for it. It's just like, hey, you're talking a little fast. But I think paying it actually as I was thinking about this on my flight home, and I'll do this in online broadcast if I'm really looking to improve something, but like actually writing sticky notes and then just referring to it like every so often, almost like a thing that's tied around your finger to remind yourself. Because that's really what I think you have to do at first, and then it'll become natural. But enunciating, slowing down, being more concise, like all those things you have to kind of just remember and keep in mind as you go into the host or desk panel or whatever it is. Like as soon as the camera turns on, you obviously can't be looking at your notes, but if you have that in your mind from the get-go, then it does certainly help. And I think that's what I'm going to do for next time, because I did work fairly hard, I guess, on trying to improve all that, like vocal exercises and whatnot, but always room for improvement, I suppose. So I'm sure there's other like finer points of critique that people will have. But for me, I look at a lot of these things, and while there are things I have in mind to help me improve for next time, I think a lot of it actually just comes down to experience. So while this was not my first offline broadcast, it was my first offline broadcast with these specific people and this specific production and this specific setup, you know what I mean? So hopefully next year, fingers crossed I get another job, I can do even better. So all the improving that I think I can do and specific note-taking that I've done, I think here's where it comes to a reason, which is talking about my goals for 2018. This is what I did last year in another video before I went to Korea, the second time overall, and I wanted to do it again here. So I don't even actually remember what I said last year, to be honest. Maybe I should have done that before doing this video. Oh well, but I know I was talking about actually doing offline jobs, getting to cast WCS, getting to cast something offline, and then surprisingly I got Nation Wars. I also clarified that I was willing and wanting to do that, which I think my perception to the community and to the people looking for people to hire might have been a little skewed until the clarification I was making last year, the latter half of last year. So that video was really good, but this video gets, I've done a lot of the goals that I had in mind, even from when I started StarCraft to, playing it, which is, let's see here. I did an offline gig, Nation Wars, plus a dozen of other smaller things like Ting Offline and Atlanta, stuff like that. I did a WCS events, which was my highest goal, the one that I thought would take the longest to achieve, and I've done that. I've traveled lots, which was one of my main goals when getting into StarCraft, because I saw everyone traveling and I was like, damn, I want to do that. And I've lived in Korea for a short amount of time. So I've kind of like knocked off these huge goals for me when it comes to my career, and I should be pretty happy about that. I should be giving myself a pat on the back, but I don't know, it's hard to say it all comes together at once and you're just like, you have like a day where you're in a pit, like, you're euphoric or something like that, because I don't think that happens to anyone. It certainly doesn't happen to me. So I just will take the minute to say good job, but then moving on to 2018. So I thought about my new goals. I was talking to interviewers during WCS Montreal, a little bit after, but basically, and I was telling them like I'm really uncertain. I don't actually know. I haven't thought about it yet. I just did my final goal in WCS. So I thought about it this past few days, and I think I have a list of 2018 goals. So if this is where you're looking for in the video, then I guess I'll timestamp it right here. So first of all, I want to do more WCS events and just offline big events. So IAM, WCS, like even WSG, I guess, or another Nation Wars, or even Home Story Cup. Like, actually, I've been to Home Story Cup since the very first one, and that I'm like thinking more and more about it, and I'm like, I kind of want that to be my goal, but am I funny enough? It's really hard to beat the guys they get already. But anyways, definitely more of that. So I want to do at least 2 WCS events next year, and then if those go well, and I get some experience in the first half of the year, basically, I want to shoot for BlizzCon, which I know some of you are going to be scoffing at and being like, well, why would they ever do that? But I think they're showing they're very willing to hire new talent, and I think I did a good job, and that people think I'm some type of breath of fresh air, and that I bring something to the table, and I want to just keep pushing what I can actually bring to the table and actually shoot for BlizzCon. So how do I do that? As I said, I want to make it clear that I'm going to improve from this event, from Montreal, and that the next event should be even better, whichever one it is. And I want to start putting more finite goals in StarCraft 2. So I've never really been a person that was externally motivated. If I thought I was doing a good job, then that was what was good enough for me. And when I put external goals out there, I found myself it'd be very hard to hit, basically. I would get demotivated because I wouldn't hit them, I suppose, which happens to a lot of people. Some people chase that high, other people shy away from the high, I suppose, right? So for me, I really want to push, actually, and this is hard for me to say, right? But I want to get Grandmaster as Terran in StarCraft, and then keep my current level of Masters in the other races, but maybe choose something a little bit higher, like Masters 1, for Zerg and Protoss. I don't think I can make GM with those, but who knows. To do that, I have to up my StarCraft 2 time, which has been low just because I do a lot of casting. I do have neck issues that also I've always meant to do another video on, but I just never got around to it. But, it's either casting or playing for me a lot of the time. Not just because of, I'm tired or something like that, but literally I think if I pushed myself an extra 4 hours after doing a 4 or 5 hour cast, I would start injuring myself. So for me, this kind of goes hand in hand with improving my life quality. That sounded weird. But basically keeping myself healthier is what I meant to say, which is like going back to what I was a year ago. I actually had probably the healthiest couple of months of my life, where I was working out every day, doing like 30 minutes of walking, an hour of weightlifting, and 30 minutes of yoga. I'm not kidding. I was super healthy for like 2 months, 3 months leading up to WCS Austin last year. And I would like to get back to that. That was when I was kind of at my peak performance, and I think I need to get to that state again, as opposed to lazing around and doing other things. So that goes hand in hand with improving my StarCraft level and knowledge to a degree. I've never been on the train of like you have to be a certain level to understand the game. I think you have to be a certain level. Like obviously you can't just like not know StarCraft, but I do think that it helps you remember. It's an easier thing to do to play the game and practice what you're note taking on than just taking notes. So that's why I think it's still a very good goal for me to actually push up into the higher levels. So there's a specific goal for StarCraft. For WCS, obviously want to do more for offline broadcasts, and that's kind of my two big ones. Do more offline gigs and do more StarCraft. Along with that, I suppose, get healthier and also stream a bit more. I think I'm getting better at streaming, but I know I'm not the greatest. So that's like the tier of goals, I suppose, is like do WCS events, get better at StarCraft, get healthier, do more streaming content, and then even further down a little bit more, do like more YouTube content. Because my YouTube, I'm actually quite proud of how my YouTube has gone for 2017. Considering where it was at the beginning of 2016. But I'd like to improve that a little bit more. But that's kind of the hierarchy that I have going on right now. And one thing is determined by others, but I think the other things I'm talking about will help me get to more offline events, basically. So I think that just about covers it for my goals, as far as I want to talk about them next year. Yeah. That just about covers my goals. Yeah. So to recap, I talked about WCS Montreal and how it went, how I thought I did. To summarize, I thought I did a good job, borderline great for what I went in there expecting, and I thought that everyone that I worked with were amazing people and I meshed really well with, and I thought the actual event overall was super good, and I hope to do more. Then I talked about my actual opinions of how it went. So I said that it was good, borderline great, and how to improve. And I do have things in mind for how to improve. And if you have good feedback, then I might be willing to hear it. But generally, I rely on feedback from people that I know and trust, not random people on YouTube. And then I talked about improving for next events, and that kind of goes along with my goals. So my goals for next year in 2018 would be to do at least 2 WCS events, and depending on how experience I get early on, I want to shoot for BlizzCon in 2018, and then just do more and more offline casts, become more of an offline caster, improve StarCraft, improve my health, and improve my stream and YouTube. So that was kind of the summary of the video. Thank you all for watching, and if you have any specific questions about the event or anything on your mind about this video, then I'm going to be happy to answer them. And I guess I will see you guys perhaps next year. Maybe this will be a yearly thing that I do to talk more about my future mindset and goals. All right, guys. Thank you. Bye.